A tragedy that happened over a century ago continues to speak through the pictures it left behind, photographs of grace, everyday life, and ephemeral human moments on the Titanic, each one holding secrets that were not revealed for centuries. With contemporary AI restoration, the blur of time is stripped off, bringing faces in the crowd back, lost words on yellowed pages back to life, and proof to surface that even questions the past we believed. Amongst these photos, there was one that stunned experts, their faces ashen when they zoomed in, to find something completely unexpected. If this kind of story touches your heart, if you're someone who cares about truth, responsibility, and speaking up for the voiceless, please like this video, subscribe to our channel Spark Science, and share it with someone who should hear it. Let's get started. From the great iceberg thought to have doomed the Titanic to the tiniest but creepiest of artifacts that spoke of life on the ship, these images are not just pictures, they are pieces of truth, caught in time. Now, 50 unforgettable images of the Titanic bring the past to life, each of them carrying echoes of grief, enigma, and disclosure. 2 days prior to the sinking of the ill-fated ship, Captain W. Wood of the SS Etonian snapped a black-and-white picture of a gigantic iceberg while sailing across the Atlantic. He recorded its coordinates accurately, a position eerily near where the Titanic struck an iceberg on April 14, 1912. AI analysis of his photo has now confirmed that there is a remarkable similarity with the drawings made by survivors, further establishing the suspicion that this was indeed the ill-fated iceberg. By the time Wood arrived in New York, he had developed the photo and courageously signed on it that this was the exact iceberg that caused the tragedy. Forensic comparisons of the shape of the iceberg and surface markings with contemporary reports produced a disturbing degree of accuracy, rendering this one of the most chilling pieces of evidence directly linked with the Titanic's destruction. If the appearance of that iceberg is eerie, the truth of the so-called life-saving apparatus sends an even chillier rhyme. Titanic had more than 2,000 cork and canvas life jackets, one for each passenger and crew. Photographs indicate the thick cork pads stitched into coarse canvas held together only by narrow strips of material. Survivors would remember that when desperate travelers jumped into the freezing Atlantic in these vests, the buoyancy occasionally broke necks or knocked individuals out when they hit the water. As horrible as they were, some of the vests did manage to keep passengers afloat long enough for them to be rescued, although many died from the unyielding cold before aid could reach them. Only a few surviving original life vests have endured the passing of time, battered and water-soaked. One, still carrying the testimony of history, was auctioned for a staggering $119,000, a stark reminder of the loss of human life that night. One of the most evocative photographs from the trip is one of 6-year-old first-class passenger Robert Douglas Spedden, photographed while he was playing with a spinning top on the deck. The photo, which was taken only days before the tragedy, has been upgraded with AI to show incredible details: the boy's coat fine weave, the smooth wooden planks under his feet, and the shining reflections of the ship's railings. Robert outlived the sinking when he escaped in a lifeboat, although he is said to have slept during the actual collision, waking once when his nurse comforted him by saying they would see the stars. But fate was still not kind. Robert was one of the very first casualties of a motorcar accident in Maine only 3 years later, his life short and prematurely cut off from the sea. The Titanic wasn't just a wonder of luxury of accommodation but also of amusement. Its gym, which is situated on the boat deck close to the grand staircase, was equipped with what was then state-of-the-art equipment: stationary bikes, rowing machines, and even electric camels. AI-enhanced photos now show scuff marks on the floors, smudges on the mirrors, and the gleaming oak paneling in vivid detail, conveying the enthusiasm of passengers exercising in the last few days of the voyage. First-class passengers could enjoy a session with the ship's physical instructor, TW, for a shilling. Macaulay, who stayed devoted to his station until the final night, dying along with the ship he had served. Snapshots taken by Reverend F.M. Brown, who left the ship before its final sailing, indicate the Titanic's lifeboats lined up in order alongside the bridge. The ship had only 20 lifeboats, sufficient for half the passengers on board, although technically within maritime regulation at that time. Contemporary AI enlargement of the images verifies that the lifeboats would have been able to save all lives had there merely been 2 times as many. That night, some were let down half full because officers were concerned that the davits could collapse when fully laden. Symbolically, a lifeboat drill had actually been planned earlier the same day but was cancelled, something history now attaches heavy condemnation to. Another surviving building photograph of the Titanic's huge hull, which was constructed at Harland and Wolff, depicts the steel plates welded together by more than 3 million rivets. Investigation fueled by journalist Senan Milani has seen new scrutiny of these photos. Some believe a coal bunker fire that raged prior to Titanic's departure may have been mortally weakening part of the hull. Artificial intelligence infrared scans have uncovered barely visible evidence of heat damage on a portion of plating, causing cold shivers. Had the area actually been damaged, iceberg impact could have wrought devastating breaches far more readily than might otherwise have been anticipated. This hypothesis is still contentious but implies Titanic's destiny could have been sealed before she ever departed harbor. There were more than 100,000 present to watch Titanic launch into the River Lagan on May 31, 1911. AI facial recognition software has tagged some of those onlookers in subsequent photographs at Queenstown, days before Titanic's last departure from there, with an enigmatic man who does not appear in any crew or passenger lists whatsoever. 22 tons of soap and tallow were employed to grease the slipway for her launch, which took only 62 seconds. Pictures and film taken on that day capture joyous faces with expressions frozen in anticipation, unawares of the disaster that the great ship was soon to encounter. Second-class life on board was one of surprise comfort, as revealed in photos of their dining saloon on D-deck, which seated almost 400 individuals at mahogany tables attached firmly to the floor. AI enhancement has enhanced the rich red color of the upholstery and, faintly etched into paneling, the date April 10, assumed to have been carved by a passenger who went on to survive. After dinner, there was entertainment by a band, with meals cooked in the same galley used to feed first class. For the era, Titanic's second-class dining represented one of the best travel experiences possible, merging luxury and affordability. Another snapshot captures the opulent reading and writing room of first class, conceived as a peaceful retreat exclusively for women. It was outfitted with silk-upholstered chairs, Georgian-era furnishings, and high windows with sea views, conveying a sense of refinement. AI improvements have brought out something strange in a single photograph, the blurred outline of a figure sitting by a window, whose presence has never been known. The room was on a deck next to the lounge, where travelers might borrow novels or write letters. Interestingly, it was hardly used on the trip, so the shadowy unknown figure becomes even more intriguing. The smoking room first class was a men-only area, luxuriantly decorated with stained glass windows, inlaid mahogany, and fireplace topped by Norman Wilkinson's painting approach to the New World. In one of the surviving photographs, AI colorization restored the warm interior glow of the room as remembered by survivors, who spoke of late-night poker parties that went deep into April 14. Some of the prominent people like Major Archibald Butt and Francis Millett were seen here for the last time before they stepped out into the night in search of safety, whereas others stayed behind, accepting their fate. It was likely one of the last areas on board where life went on as if everything was normal. Building photos expose another grim reality. The ship's massive steel body was stitched together by millions of rivets, many of them driven in by hand in arduous conditions. AI close-ups have identified small cracks and blemishes in a number of rivets, flaws that were subsequently found in wreckage recovered. It is argued by some historians that inferior quality rivets in the bow sections could have contributed to the failure of the hull on striking the iceberg. In any event, the photographs preserve the vast and perilous work of the men who constructed the so-called unsinkable vessel. In a candid photo, one sees Captain Edward J. Smith himself, making his deck inspection during the days leading up to disaster. AI updates uncovered 2 crew members in the distance, subsequently identified through genealogical investigation as descendants who were unaware their family members had been on Titanic. Smith was famous for making inspections and even conducting church services, but he famously called off the planned lifeboat drill on the actual morning of April 14, a move long criticized as one of the ill-fated voyage's most pivotal mistakes. Equally evocative is a picture of children playing happily across the deck, playing ball in the sea air. AI enhancement reveals a faint white star line logo printed on the ball, implying that it had been supplied as a publicity gift to young passengers. Some of the children were emigrating to start new lives in America, while the first-class children had privileged use of spacious playrooms. But in that instant, immortalized on film, was innocence, brief happiness on a vessel headed for doom. No early photographs of Titanic's grand staircase are recorded. But by overlaying shots of her sister ship, Olympic, with computer-generated digital reconstructions, AI has brought back the grand oak balustrades, intricate wrought iron railings, and domed glass skylight that originally filled the staircase with natural light. This stunning piece of furniture, reserved for first-class travelers, was an eternal reminder of the grandeur of the ship. As a result of these reconstructions, today's audiences can now virtually enter one of the most legendary interiors ever constructed, reviving the most recognized